Welcome to Can I Speak to Your Product Manager with the nitty gritty with your favorite PMs. I'm Kyle Kolitz, VP of Product at Zora.
And I'm Lucas Weber, Director of Product Management at Zora. On today's episode, we have the privilege of having Natalie Barnes with us. She is the Vice President of Product Management and Product Design for Zumba Fitness. And as usual, we're going to start off the show with a little bit of an icebreaker, get to know you with the rapid fire session of Ship It or Skip It.
What do you want to do?
Let's do it.
No.
No. Maybe. Yes.
That's right. We, as being a PM, Natalie, as you know, there's a lot of prioritization you have to come up with. You have to, look at products and kind of get a feel for if it's something you want to ship it, bring it to market, or skip it because it didn't quite make it. Maybe redo it again, try a different audience, but you're not ready for prime time. So we have a couple product ideas that we've heard. Some are good, some are bad. But the first one we're going to go with is the City Kitty. It's to train your cat to use the toilet instead of the litter box. So think of I think it was inspired by the Meet the Flockers movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Fockers.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say Fockers?
Flockers. Flockers is good.
Flockers.
Well, everybody knows what you're doing.
And it was inspired by a inventor who said, that's a great idea. And I'm going to be able to provide a solution for your kitty to use the toilet and the litter boxes will go away. Would you ship it or would you skip it?
I'm more of a dog person than a cat person, but if I did have a cat, I would love for them to use the toilet instead of the litter box because then I don't have to clean it. So I would definitely ship it.
So we're shipping it. It's out.
Shipping it. Yep.
This one I thought was designed for the elderly, but I can see others using it, especially myself who tripped the other day.
Huh.
An anti-fall airbag, where the minute you hit the ground, a cushion of air injects and you are engulfed with a lovable cushion of air. And so you fall and you bounce right back up. Or maybe not bounce back up. I think it's more of you just...
And hopefully before you hit the ground, you actually hit the pillow.
The design is that it senses when you're getting that falling motion and then a trigger chip will inflate the bag. So when you hit it, it will deflate and let you land.
Makes sense.
Softly.
I'm trying to envision what does that look like? What do you wear on you to make sure what inflates, right? It's a vest.
The vest that has a inflate that comes up over your head, and then the body inflates
as well.
Immediately. So would you ship it or skip it?
I would skip it.
Okay.
I would skip it. It's just
I'll
just take the fall. I'll take the fall.
All right. Third one, the foot fairy. So those who have children, and you know that children feet do grow quickly. It's an iPad app that you can measure the foot size, and you don't need the devices. You can measure at home, and that way you can upload it to Zappos or Amazon or whatnot, and have shoes ready as they grow into their shoe wear. So would you ship or skip it, the Foot Fairy iPad app?
I think I would probably skip it only because I don't know. I feel like I have kids and my kids' feet grow so fast that I think it's something that I would forget to use. But I do see that there's a market for it. So I would ship it for someone else, but I don't know that I'm the right.
For you, as a mother,
but you will
have somebody else.
Yeah, you will ship
a different mother.
All right, so that was good. That was again, it's a good way to kind of break the ice, know how you're thinking as a product manager. But let's go into the nitty gritty of the day-to-day stuff and what's happening in the world of PMs.
Powering up.
Power move.
So you want to let us know a little what's going on with Zumba and what's your take of what's kind of happening in your world?
Yeah, for me, I've been at Zumba now for almost 12 years. I started there as the first PM at Zumba. There was no product org. They had a technology team, and I was brought in to bridge the gap between technology and the rest of the business. I think after like a year, they realized the need for a role like this in the organization, and we were becoming a lot more product focused. So then I was able to start building a team. I started building a product team. I had probably every year I would add like a couple product managers. Then after that, we actually worked a lot with the user experience team, the UI UX team.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to work with them closely, and that collaboration, that relationship between myself and that team was so impactful, and we were able to build products that were a lot more valuable to our end consumer. I think there was just one product in general. It was the our first online digital distribution platform. So we instructors, they typically get their music and their choreo. They used to get it via CDs. So every month we would ship thousands and thousands of CDs around the world for them to be able to get their content so they can teach their classes. We actually built a digital platform, the first digital platform. This was back in 2014, I believe. And we worked so closely together that they decided that that team should be a part of the product team as well. So then I started managing the UI UX team as well. And most recently, I started managing the QA team. And I think that's a great addition to our entire org, because one of the things we realized we were lacking is that we had kind of like this factory of how things were being developed. The product managers handled the planning and all the requirements and the release planning, everything, all the research we were doing, working with UI UX, and then manage the user experience, and then we send it off to developers, and then we send it off to QA at the end. So now kind of bringing everything together makes it a lot easier for us to manage those products. So in my world, I'm mostly concerned about, of course, the product management side. Are we shipping, value to our end users, in the right user experience and with the right quality? So to become an instructor, you have to take a training. Once you take that training, you have the option to be a part of our Zumba Instructor Network. Our Zumba Instructor Network is this ongoing support and ongoing tools that you get in order for you to manage your business. So our goal at the end of the day is for us to make these instructors successful. Most recently, we actually started venturing into the world of the students and trying to, add more value for the students, which in turn would add value to our instructors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a couple of really interesting things. So first of all, Zumba fitness, it's all about Zumba, right? And just for those of us maybe who are not familiar with Zumba, Natalie, what is Zumba?
So Zumba is a dance fitness company, and the core of it is our instructors. It's all about our instructors. We have these trainings, of course, to allow instructors to become, an instructor and have this side business, or some of them teach full time. And then from a student side, these students are taking classes with Zoom instructors in over 180 countries. We have 50 million plus people taking classes on a weekly basis. So Zoom is a way to stay fit and have fun. It's like almost like exercise in disguise.
Yeah, that's right. It sounds like you guys are enabling instructors to have the appropriate music and choreography, choreo, right, that you said. And now you're also enabling students to find instructors. What do the students get out of Zumba fitness apps?
Ever since the beginning of the time, students can actually find classes on our website, and they will find these instructor classes, and they can now register to those classes and book those classes and attend. I think it was maybe like a couple months into the pandemic, we realized that we need to find a tool to allow instructors to continue to bring that happiness, bring that joy to their students, because everything was locked down, everything, there was no in-person classes. So we actually quickly spun up an online platform to allow them to actually post their video on demand classes, and also to allow them to have, do live stream classes on our site. And they were still able to connect with their students, and the students were still able to experience the joy of Zumba in a time period where, it was very difficult for all of us. So after that experience and all the data that we got from that, and we realized that not only were we getting students that were already taking Zumba and already had their instructors, but we were getting this new, segment of users who in the past may have been intimidated to enter into a Zumba class because, you go in there and everyone seems to know the moves and you don't, and you don't want to look foolish in front of a bunch of strangers. We also found that we found people who, even though we're in 180 countries, we can't be every single where. So you realize that there are these pockets of the world where we can't reach. We also had a YouTube channel where we actually posted curated content, and the feedback that we got from people who actually use that content was that we want more. We want to be able to experience more of this joy. It's like our stress relief. It's like our, how can you provide us with more of this content? So we actually did a bit more digging, did surveys, interviews, look at our data and realize that, there is demand for an app. Before the pandemic, we thought, it's hard to replicate that feeling of that joy online as you have in person. Mm-hmm. We always thought that, maybe it doesn't work on an app or it doesn't work online, but then we realized it actually did. So that was the reason why we kind of ventured into this on-demand app, because we do believe that there's people that we can reach out there that are not able to experience Zumba because there's no classes in their area. They don't have an instructor. They just moved and they're, in the process of trying to find a new instructor. So the app allows us to be able to bring those people in, bring more people into Zumba, and ultimately bring more people into our instructors' classes.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's also a continuity thing, right? So it kind of is bringing a little bit of home with you.
That's right.
Everywhere you go.
And did you notice after COVID a drop off of those online users, or did that stay consistent, or did you see growth? Because now, after COVID, they go to the classes now, or did you see these segments still kind of growing, or what kind of happened?
We did see instructors posting less on-demand classes. They wanted to get back in person. So the instructors that had their following, had their students, mm-hmm. They wanted to get back together as soon as the pandemic was over. But there was still this group of people who didn't necessarily have an instructor, who didn't have, was a little intimidated going to the class. They stayed.
I see.
So we realized that we needed some sort of solution for this, enormous segment of people who don't necessarily have the ties.
You saw a little drop off of the kind of the regulars, but then that segment that didn't want to do it in front of everybody, that kind of continued kind of being there. Did you see any conversion of those customers into the classes, or did they just kind of stay in the app?
We, when we built the app, we thought that we were building an app for that hybrid user, the person who wants to do in person and supplement it with the on-demand classes when they couldn't get to an in-person class or they couldn't find the time. But what we realized was that a lot of the users we were getting, they either strictly want on-demand, which was the majority of them, because you put an app in the app store with content, that's what people are coming for. There is a portion of people who do come to the app to find in-person classes, but the majority of people we get are people who are on-demand. And yes, there is that crossover. Sometimes they take a few on-demand classes and then they try to venture into an in-person class. And the hope is that over time, that happens more often.
But it was interesting you came with like that product manager 101, right? You come with the theory that this is going to be a hybrid offer, but then you see as the customers are using it, there was that strictly on-demand kind of segment of customers. They're just going to stay there. Someone will shift, but you don't know until you start putting in customers' hands what's going to happen.
Exactly.
When you explore the market, right?
That's right.
And
you have a theory that's going to happen, and also like they're not going hybrid, but let's focus on this one. This is good. This is good. This is a good indicator.
That's awesome. Natalie, I wanted to kind of maybe shift gears a little bit, because one of the things you said that you're managing is not only the product management team, but also the QA team. Now, traditionally, the QA team, right, is part of engineering because engineers want to ship quality software, right? Tell us, why did QA now rolls up to you. Like, what was the thinking there? Did you guys try the engineering route? What are kind of the pros and cons of maybe against that traditional thinking that QA is part of engineering?
Yeah. One of the things that's a little bit different in our setup at Zumba, I manage a product team, but the product team is also part of the technology team. I report to the CTO. So we have a very tight relationship with the developers. So for us, it's all one team. We have kind of like this, we're these little pods of teams. Like each of my product manager has their group of developers that they work with, and they work with them for every single product. Now, QA, one of the things we realized as the pandemic hit, I don't know if this is something that happened in many organizations. We're trying to ship things fast, and trying to, provide as much value as we can for customers, because let's face it, everyone saw a bit of a slowdown after the pandemic. So we're trying to make sure that we continue to add that value there. One of the things we realized as we were doing that was that the quality was dipping a little bit because we were trying to ship way too fast. We had a lot of automation around our QA process. But as we're trying to ship things fast, those automations started breaking and so on. So we realized that we need to focus back on QA. We need to reset our manual testing because we saw a lot more bugs than we're used to. We're not typically a team that ship a lot of things with, little bugs in there. So it was one of our focus. And the reason why we wanted to we decided to add QA as a part of product was because we realized that QA being at the bottom of the development process, they didn't understand what the plans were or what those initial thinking was behind the product. They didn't fully understand the product, and it would take time for the product manager to then help them understand every single business rule, every single reason for things. So we wanted to make sure that they were part of that planning process. Mm-hmm. So bringing them into product allows us to be able to have them in the discovery sessions, design sprints if necessary, all the strategy planning, all that. So they're a part of all that, and they are a part of building the product with us. So when it gets to the end, they understand exactly what to test, exactly what the business rules are, and it just makes their life so much easier having them as a part of the product org.
Yeah, quality is so important. I mean, we completely agree. I mean, quality is very important. If you, as a user, and you're using it, and you notice glitch or you know it's not working, it erodes the value so quickly. Yeah. I mean, you start like, I'm not going to use it anymore, or I'm going to wait. And so bring them up in front and center of the process I think it's very important, especially from the B2C kind of app perspective.
Yeah, the key thing I'm pulling out of here is the fact that QA is really part of the product design. So they actually understand the customer, right? And they are more on the user acceptance testing side of things, so they can imagine themselves as the user, right? And so they're much closer to how the product should work, rather than just simply the code that was shipped. I'm finding on our side, having our PMs do testing before features go to customers, particularly the early features, like you're saying, you're building fast, right? So these things are alpha, beta quality, right? But being able to actually have that pass of somebody who's designed it and knows how it should work and tested, amazing difference in terms of what comes out, right?
Before your customer tests it.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Our test plans have gotten so much better too. The test plans that the QA team provides, like, it's so much more detailed, so much more closer to the product. Before, it's more like they don't understand the product. They don't understand how to write these test cases. Now it's a lot easier for us.
For a consumer-based product and an app, what was the launch process and why did it take a bit longer?
We have launched numerous apps before, specifically for ZenMember. A lot of the software and the apps that we've built in the past are all behind a login, so they're all for instructors. So usually you don't see a lot of the development that we do. But the app itself it's a little different from the website in that the classes that are on the app are curated classes from our top education specialists. So they're not instructor classes. So we've done a great job of curating a bunch of on-demand classes that allows the user to get a great Zumba experience. we do still have on-demand classes and live stream classes that are provided by the instructor, but that's actually on the website itself. So the on-demand content, it's very different from what you get on the website. So this is, this is to rival the Pelotons and the Obey and all those apps. And the actual process of development. So we started back in, I think it was March 2022, we started doing a lot of research, and we actually even spun up a quick and dirty app that we had a few users test, and we just let them use the app for about, I believe we let it run for like a month, and we just wanted to see if there was enough there for them to come back. We wanted to see if we can engage them and retain them. And we saw great success with that. So we continue our research. We actually shipped the first or had our alpha in, I believe it was August of last year. And our alpha test was with our employees, our internal employees. So we had them test the app because a lot of our employees actually do love taking Zumba classes. So a lot of that testing was for us to see if there were any bugs, if there were any issues. And it was just the core of the app. It was just the classes. So as they were testing, we were building things around the app, the actual experience around the app and so on. So we had them test for a while. We got feedback from all of them, and then we continued going. The next round of testing was with our, they're actually called our ZCOM volunteers. So they're kind of like Zoom ambassadors in different areas. And they were able to test the app from different areas of the world, and they were able to give us their feedback from a Zumba ambassador perspective, and that was very helpful. After that, I believe in sometime in mid-September, we actually released it to select Zen members or select instructors and select users, students. So we had students on our site that had accounts with us, and students who've taken other programs that we've had, like a 6-week program and so on. So we had them use the app as well, and got a lot of insights from them that helped us refine the app a bit more. Then in November, early November, we actually soft launched it into the App Store. When we soft launched it into the App Store, we noticed an interesting thing. We started getting a lot of downloads. So we even got subscriptions and trials and subscriptions in the App Store as well as we soft launched. And then in January is when we did our big marketing push, and that's where it really started taking off.
Kicking off, right? Wow.
I like how you start off with the internal users and drink your own champagne, because you can make a lot of mistakes, with them. You don't get blown up. So you did a nice transition of internal employees, Zora ambassadors, then you went to like select members, then you did a soft launch, and then so you had a nice gradual way of launching the whole program.
And also phased in terms of what was being tested.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly the content, while the experience was being still worked on. So it sounded like a phased approach, right? To get things up front that mattered, and then the rest of the experience obviously also critical, but not the first thing you want to lead with.
Yeah, that's great.
Huh. Wonderful. Can you tell us? So you mentioned, obviously, broadly speaking, 15 million students out there, right? That use your services. How's the app doing since the launch?
Since the launch, we've had, ever since November, I think we've had well over 300,000 downloads and counting. Even though we started spending when we first launched, we are continuing to ramp up our spending, because like any new app, we are testing and iterating and trying to make sure that even though we kind of, have that product market fit, we want to make sure that the experience is amazing and valuable for the end user, to make sure that they stay. It's one thing to get downloads and free trials, but to keep that user and to get that user to then, share this app with someone else and say they love it, like that's where we want to get to. We want to get to that point where this is a lifestyle for our, target audience.
Yeah.
And they love it so much that, they want to tell their friends, and this is definitely something that they want to keep as a part of their workout routine, because it actually helps them we've gotten a lot of feedback that this is my stress relief. This is my hour. This is my me time. That hour of Zumba is my me time, or that half an hour of Zumba is my me time. So we've been iterating not only with the app experience, but also with the content. We've realized that there's a group of people that like, shorter format content, like Zumba breaks, we call them. So it's like 5-minute quick Zumba, you learn salsa or you do one song. And then there's those students who want the traditional 1 hour, they want a full hour. And then there's anything in between there. So we've been testing a lot and trying to, find that right fit for our target audience.
Was there a particular, I guess, feature or something you put into the app that you saw a spike in customers, either promoting it or talking about? Was it something like a success story, like, oh wow, that was a great thing we did that really kind of drove, the download or the reduced churn, or what was kind of like that success story?
The killer feature.
What's the killer feature that you launched?
The killer feature for us was onboarding. Actually, we started out with a very generic onboarding. It was, the typical, how many times a week do you want to work out? What's your, the typical process. And then you get into the app, you're in the home screen. And then once you get to that home screen, you see what's in the app. You can click on a video, but then, as soon as you click on the video, you see the details, you try to play it. And of course you get the paywall because you have to start a free trial. So that was how we launched. But then we started, thinking a lot about that onboarding and trying to make sure that it actually captures the user. We realized that not a lot of people were getting to the paywall. They're not realizing it's there. They were looking at a promo video, and the promo video actually was not actually bringing up a paywall. We decided to make that onboarding dynamic, and we started adding questions that would that made sense to the user, like what is your goal? What are you trying to get out of this app? If they said, my goal was, let's say, to lose weight, we would then give them a program. And the program is basically a category, a collection of content that will help them reach that goal. So we would show them this program is called Trim and Tone, and this program will help you reach your goal. You said you want to work out 3 times a week. You said your goal was to lose weight. Here's a program that can help you do that. After we show you that program, there's a CTA there to start the program. You start the program. Then we show you the paywall. You can start your free trial now, but it was a soft paywall. You can skip it and keep going. We noticed a lot of people actually, they were invested now. They've gone through this onboarding that now they felt like, this app is speaking to my needs. So now I'm more inclined to actually hit the paywall. We realized that a lot of people were actually starting to do that. So we are now evolving that a little bit and thinking more about how do we incorporate programs into the experience, because it seems like it's something that's resonating a lot with our audience. So that's one of the things that we're working on in the future to make sure we continue to, provide that packaged content experience that you can't get anywhere else that helps them reach that goal.
Got it. Yeah, so much more structure to the program than just, hey, look, here's lots of content, have fun, right? The problem is sometimes too many choices and now you don't know what to do. But instead, you're saying, look, we're actually going to guide you based on what you do. And we've taken care of all, a lot of the things for you. So here's the structure. We'd suggest, this and that, and this is where the tee up is, and you should do this 3 times a week or whatever it is, right? And whenever you come in, we're ready, right? And
you tie to their goal of like losing weight or getting tone or whatever it was, and then you create. I'm sure there's probably now AI backing it, right, where that content becomes more crisper and crisper to make it easier for them to say, okay, if I follow this, I'll get to my goal faster, right? So it's good value.
Exactly. And also making sure that we actually follow through with that, not only give them the program, but actually help them, nudge them when they need to be nudged. Say, you said you're going to do 3 classes a week, you've only done 1 so far, the week's almost over.
What about, what does the future hold for the app? I mean, obviously you're getting more and more users in here. Are there things you can maybe tell us of what you're thinking the app might be getting here soon?
Yeah. I mean, we're continuing to, of course, make sure that onboarding is personalized and dynamic enough. I think we're probably like halfway there. There's still a lot more work that we can do with that. The tailored content, like I mentioned before, there will still be the opportunity for users to actually do whatever they feel like in the app. They don't have to choose a program. A program is just a feature within the app where you can decide to start a program. The program will last 6 weeks, and then you continue on with the other content that we have, or you can continue on with another program. Community is something that we actually are thinking about within the app. I mentioned before that there was this fear before we actually launched the app that we can't replicate that magic of Zumba in an in-person class online. We realize that there is, we can somewhat do that, but we're trying to enhance that a bit by adding a community aspect to the app where you can connect with other people in the app, or you can connect with your friend that you invited. So that is definitely something we're looking into. The app is only in English today, and we noticed that we're getting a lot of downloads from everywhere because, of course, Zumba is everywhere. So adding other languages eventually, of course, is something that we're thinking about. And then, casting is always tricky when you have an app that streams, and especially with a fitness app. So adding more casting options. We do have a CTV app, but I think there's other, being able to be in Roku and other places besides the places that we're on right now would be very beneficial for us. And it also speaks to a lot of the requests from our audience. Like, we're constantly listening, constantly, looking at feedback and asking for feedback. So we're trying to make sure that we stay on top of their needs and address those.
Excellent. Well, thank you. This was a great insight into Zumba Fitness and the app that you guys just launched. Just for the record, so if I say hypothetically, asking for a friend, of course, we're looking for a Zumba app that you guys built and launched, I would clearly search for Zumba. I mean, my friend would, let's be clear. And would that bring it up, or am I looking for something?
No, you're looking for Zumba. We made it very simple, very easy. That's what people are searching for. Like, this is a Zumba app, so it's just going to be called Zumba.
Wonderful. Easy enough.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts that you can leave us with based on your experience, developing such a wonderful tool for folks to get fit and have fun at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting journey because this was definitely an audience that we weren't used to. And we're learning a lot from them.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different, we've been spoiled with having our instructors who, as we build things, they're right there. They're telling us their feedback and we can test with them. We have, constant communication with them. With students, it's a little bit different. So it is definitely a learning experience, but we're constantly listening to them and making sure that we're learning and we're iterating as much as we can to add as much value as we can to them. And we know that this app is going to really help with a lot of people out there who are trying to find a program to stick with in this day and age where there's so much saturation in the space, and there's so much fall off. I think, so many people have tried different things and so on. This is the one thing where we've seen people who start Zumba and fall in love with it. They swear by it. So, we're hoping that we reach a lot more of those people and they get to, experience that beautiful magic that is Zumba. So that is the hope that we have going forward with this app, and we hope we, create a great experience for them in the app as well.
Awesome. All right. Awesome. Wonderful. Natalie, thank you so much for giving us an insight into the world of Zumba.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, that was a great conversation with Natalie. I mean, especially an app that brings so much joy to a lot of people. I know working out is hard, and this app kind of allows people to have fun with it. And I love that she was kind of focusing on how cultivating that, and the whole story about getting the paywall. I think every content viewer out there who works on in media or any kind of, how do you get them to paywall? How do you get them actually wanting to go to the paywall? That's a perfect case study. You navigate the customer and you get them to want to buy in, and they're actually looking for the paywall because they want it, the content's so good, the products are good, and then the fact that they focus so much on the quality that you know, again, paywall. The barrier to that is I can get this free somewhere else. But if your content is good and the quality of the app is good, you're like, this is a premium I'm going to pay. And
That's right.
That's, I think, the way they handled it, of how they released it, and then, focused on the user and what they're focusing on there was brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's exactly right. Look, a paywall then isn't really a wall anymore, right? As much as like, look, this is just such great things. I'm more than willing to sort of contribute, right, and keep this thing going because I find a lot of value.
The goal, it gets to their goal, which is what they want to do, and that's why they're willing to put their credit card down.
Yeah, especially if it's available everywhere.
That's right.
So I totally agree. Super exciting stuff. I did dancing way back when.
Oh, I knew you were holding back.
Wasn't Zumba, but
Right.
definitely all sorts of
Something
ballroom
similar.
stuff, and swing was the thing not so long ago.
There you go.
One would hope. And so I can only imagine Zumba is fun. And again, I think my friend will be trying the Zumba.
I think
soon.
is that me? I did hint that I was going to try it. So is that the friend? All right.
Well, given that you already have the pants.
Well, the pants are pretty comfortable.
The other thing that I found really, really interesting is the story about QA. And I honestly found that here too, is having really that last check before the feature leaves sort of the factory floor, right? Software-wise speaking, obviously, is amazing. Really, we do catch a lot of things where engineering and even in QA from an engineering perspective just thinks it's fine, right? But it is that last check to say, look, how would a user actually interact with this as this is shipping out is amazing and really helps. Even usually these issues are fairly trivial, right? But when they're caught by us rather than by customer, it completely changes the experience.
Well, you think it's trivia, but the user will
has
find
no
it
idea.
like I do it every day, and that issue keeps bothering me, and it grinds them. So knowing that QA person is kind of addressing that right away solves so many barriers.
Agreed. And so the amazing return on little effort to fix this stuff, but the return of having the experience, amazing. So really, really interesting insight to have that roll together, product and QA working together. Again, wonderful episode.
Yeah.
We're so happy to have Natalie on. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Hopefully you'll tune in next time, hit the subscribe button, and join us for the next episode of Can I Speak to Your Product Manager?